Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel and welcome back to Prehistoric Kingdom, where we are continuing our build of Park Reanima. So that is the name of the park. As you might have known last episode, I was still struggling to decide on a name and I kind of vibe for this entire park. And I've got a bit more of an idea now. This whole thing is going to be set in Spain, which is where the map is set anyways. And I did look up the Spanish term for something like Park Reanima, and it would have been Park de Reanimicidad, I believe. I'm learning Spanish at the moment. I am very slow. I am not great at learning languages, but it's been fun. You know, getting the Duolingo in, getting the constant death threat from the Duolingo owl if I don't practice my Spanish every day, but it's been fun. But yeah, this is going to be set in Spain, again going to be kind of like a sanctuary that is open to guests to some extent, but generally focused on the animals' welfare first and foremost. So it's going to be big naturalistic habitats with relatively minimal guest spaces, but the guest spaces I will try and make look pretty good too. In today's episode, we are going to be including one of my favorite dinosaurs of all time, and that is the Dinochirus. So, you know, for any of you who grew up in the 90s or early 2000s, and if you had any dinosaur books, dinosaur encyclopedias, you know, one of those like A to Z list of dinosaur kind of things, you will have almost definitely seen under the Dinochirus section, no actual picture of the animal, but instead a picture of two giant arms. And that's all we had of Dinochirus for a long time. The only material we had for that giant animal was two enormous, massive arms with these huge claws. And, you know, it was crazy as a kid seeing that, these huge arms, and then in the description of these little books being like, oh, we have no idea what these came from. They could have been from a huge, powerful predator that we don't know the rest of it. You know, we don't know what it looks like. Or it could have been from something entirely different, and it was one of those things that really sparked your imagination as a kid, and I absolutely was just enthralled by the idea of something with these tremendously powerful arms. And you know, of course, the idea at the time when you're a kid and you see that, you think, gosh, this is like a giant, you know, meat-eating theropod, much larger than T-Rex, that sort of thing. And, you know, that's always a fun idea, but what it ended up being is something so much cooler, I think. So, even at the time, there were, of course, whispers and, like, ideas that Dinochirus was going to be a giant ornithomimosaur. I believe that's the right term. But yeah, it was only not too long ago that they found, I think it was 2 adult specimens where we had a lot more bone material to work from. And we found out what this animal looked like, and it was nothing like what people were expecting. There was this giant Moose-Camel-Duck looking thing. It was, like I said, a giant ornithomimosaur, so think things like Gallimimus and Ornithomimus. For those of you who aren't as familiar with dinosaurs, those are the kind of like fast-moving, sprinting kind of theropods. Think like in Jurassic Park, the first movie, what the T-Rex chomps on. You know, the scene where it's like, oh, they're flocking this way. Those guys, those are Gallimimus. Dinochirus was essentially the biggest member of that group of animals, and it is just the most bizarre looking creature, and you'll see it later in this episode. And this rendition, by the way, is a beautiful rendition. Easily one of my favorite depictions of the animal. There's going to be another somewhat similar looking depiction in Prehistoric Planet, which is the documentary that comes out later this month. Oh my god, I've got tickets to the premiere. I'm so excited. You guys have no idea how excited I am. But yeah, that's going to be incredible. I'm so excited for that. But that depiction, Dinochirus, as well, is really beautiful. And, you know, it probably lived in quite a wetlandy environment, and so it's kind of depicted a lot as this kind of swamp beast looking creature. So, you know, big shaggy feathers, like, kind of eating algae in the water surface with this really cool, like, almost well, it's kind of like a duck-like beak, but more long, I guess. It's hard to describe because there really isn't any other creature like this on the planet. Dinochirus is incredibly unique, and that is one of the reasons I am so enthralled by it. It's just such a fascinating creature, and there really hasn't ever been anything like it on the planet right up till modern day. It's incredible, and the size of it too. This is a big animal, and it lived alongside other really big animals. things like Therizinosaurus and Tarbosaurus, you know, other big theropods. So, you know, it's really a cool example of niche partitioning. I think the environment in which it used to live in. Niche partitioning is when you have a lot of animals of a similar kind of body plan, or a similar, just a similar type of animal within the same environment, but they can coexist because they occupy different niches. So think in the Cretaceous, in the areas where Spinosaurus was found, for example, you'd have animals like Carcharodontosaurus, you know, and you suddenly think, oh, there's two giant theropods here, two giant meat eaters. How did they coexist? And the answer is because Spinosaurus would have eaten fish and other prey that didn't directly compete with animals like Carcharodontosaurus. So that's a really cool thing, and I imagine that's what was happening in the areas where Dinochirus was found. These are all very large theropods, but they all consume very, very different things. But yeah, it's just such an incredible animal. So glad to have it in Prehistoric Kingdom, and beautifully designed too. Really, really stunning work on the design for this animal. So huge congrats to the artist for putting out such a perfect depiction of one of the coolest prehistoric animals in my opinion. And yeah, while I was gushing on about this animal, I forgot to talk about what's going on screen. So as you can see, we are building kind of a wetland themed environment. We have a lake with a little bit of a dip there. And I use loads and loads of the wetland foliage. I think the wetland foliage looks fantastic, especially when you clump together the low-lying ones and then have it just kind of around the water's edges. I think it looks really, really fantastic, and I'm very pleased with how that turned out. Of course, we also include lots of the scrubland foliage, which is native to this area. Try to use a few more of the palms and stuff. The Aleppo pines are some of my favorite plants in the game. I think they're probably just one of my favorite plants in real life too, because I see them everywhere and I'm just like, oh gosh, that's a cool plant. Though nothing's ever going to meet my beloved monkey puzzle tree. That is, of course, my favorite plant of all time. But yeah, speaking of plants, I had my graduation last week and I had this really gorgeous dress which I found for graduation. And true to form, true to sticking to my prehistoric roots, I managed to find a graduation dress which had ginkgo leaves on it, and it was really, really beautifully done. But ginkgo leaves, if you might not know, are actually really prehistoric. They've been around on the planet for a long, long time, likely coexisting with the dinosaurs, which is something I find quite cool, and of course very, very appropriate for the for me, I guess. But yeah, they appeared like 200 million years ago or something like that, so it's very, very prehistoric. Over here you can see me just building a kind of viewing platform. Because it was such a swampy environment, I wanted to harken to this idea of kind of like a boardwalk almost, like how you'd see in places like Louisiana and stuff that goes over the murky kind of swamp waters and stuff. Just only in idea, not really how it actually functions, but more so in just the vibes, I guess. But I think it ends up looking really nice. Fencing and stuff I end up playing with a bit. The scaling feature in this game is still one of the best things it has ever done. No other sandbox game has done scaling quite like this, I don't think. Oh, I mean, to be fair, I haven't played, like, I love sandbox games, but I don't play an awful lot of them. I tend to stick to the nature-y ones or the animal-y ones, so I've only played those kinds. So I guess if you played more like industrial type sandbox games, maybe you'll have more options like this, but I wouldn't know, because I just don't play too many of those besides things like Satisfactory or City Skylines. And those, of course, are much more like, well, City Skylines is a whole other bag of, but we won't even go into City Skylines because the modding scene for that has created some incredible stuff. That is a whole different thing. But yeah, scaling feature in this game, fantastic. That's what I was trying to say. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with how this habitat turned out. I think it looks very, very cool. The last bit here that you can see me do is just a bit of fencing, but I really like how the habitat itself turned out in terms of terraforming. The water looks really fantastic. The rocks, I think, suit it really well, and the foliage especially really, really gives this quite murky look. As far as you might have noticed, for these two habitats I've built so far, I'm not really doing anything in terms of custom fencing or anything quite like that. And there's a reason for that, and that's because the game doesn't have null fencing yet, which is what Planet Zoo has, which makes it really easy to define a habitat's boundary before you actually build any custom fencing or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to wait for the next update, which I don't think is that far away, because in the roadmap you might have seen they're going to include null fencing in that update. So hopefully they do, and then once they've done that, we can hopefully do a bit more custom fencing as well. Also another thing is that I might try a challenge mode playthrough of this, just to see how that works out. I imagine I'll do very badly, but could be a fun experience, so I might try that. Yeah, I'm just doing the little poles for this boardwalk kind of viewing area. Nothing too fancy, very, very simple. And just putting in some supports at the bottom as well with some concrete. I think, you know, with some of these features, like just keeping it simple ends up looking really good. And I really want to keep the guest facing areas quite simple in this. There'll be some cool like feature things and stuff like that, but generally speaking, want to keep it, you know, like low-key enough that the habitat itself is what stands out. And I think this this piece here really shows kind of what I'm aiming for, because as you can see, it's nice and simple, and when you're there you can see that it's meant to just be a point where you're looking into the habitat rather than its own little attraction. So I think it worked out pretty well. Here I'm creating a quick little shade as well, nothing too fancy, just working with the metal poles to see how I can do this. It's looking quite interesting. I cannot vouch for the structural integrity of the structure, but you know, fingers crossed it doesn't collapse on the guests. I'm sure it won't, but you know. But yeah, I am having a great time with Prehistoric Kingdom at the moment. It's been so fun. Much more of a better time than I had with the alpha. I gotta admit, this is far more polished and far more, you know, just easily playable, user friendly. So I'm really having a great time with it at the moment. And of course, again, early access, not everything's polished, but tremendously leaps and bounds ahead of the alpha. So we are done with the time-lapse bit. We're gonna hop into the game right now, just really quickly, and we're gonna look at our beautiful Dinochirus. So I will see you there in just a sec. Okay, so here we are, and as you can see, this is our park so far, and I think it's looking fantastic. I think with the vibe of this, I think an observation tower would be a really cool addition. So maybe I'll build one kind of in this area over here with all these plants. I'm liking how the fence goes across the water like this. It looks quite natural, and I like how the reeds clump there and stuff. Looks really cool. But yes, of course, our stars of the show. Oh, by the way, I had some issues with trying to get this habitat to line up and be registered as a habitat. So I ended up doing this little separation here, which seemed to have worked. Still don't know what exactly caused it, but looks pretty solid. I like how the fences join up, by the way. That's pretty cool. But yeah, let's create this little corridor here, which is a bit overgrown, and there's some rocks and stuff. Looks quite cool. But yeah, these are our, of course, the stars of our show today. Our Dinochirus, beautiful. Oh my god, that is incredible. Like I said, easily one of my favorite dinosaurs of all time. Just fantastic. Maybe I have a thing for like sail/humpback dinosaurs, because you know, Spinosaurus is my all-time favorite. So I don't know, but incredible creature, just so bizarre. Nothing else on the planet quite like it. Except, if I'm not mistaken, there was a paper not long ago, maybe last week even, that proposed the idea that there might have been another Dinochirus-sized ornithomimosaur somewhere in South America, I want to say. So Dinochirus might not be alone anymore, so that could be really, really cool. So, you know, hope we'll hear a bit more from that. I want to do a little waterfall in this area, but I tried with the effects and wasn't really getting the effect I was hoping for. I wanted something really gentle, so I just left it as is. We can assume it's just dried up a little bit. Yeah, loving this marshy look here. Also, of course, played around a lot with the terrain, this grass and pebbles and lots of sand. I think it ends up looking pretty good. Okay, they're finally out of the forest, so we can get a better look at them. This, I believe, is our female.
Now, this is an interesting fellow. This dinosaur is called Dinochirus, a name meaning horrible hand. Its hands aren't actually horrible, mind you. Calling dinosaurs things like terrible or horrible is a trend that goes all the way back to Sir Richard Owen, who first coined the term dinosaur, which of course
thank you, Nigel.
Terrible lizard.
just gotta say, by the way, just Nigel Marvin in this game is the best thing ever. It's just such a great hit of nostalgia. Now, this is how you do nostalgia well. You find someone who was like genuinely involved in something that people loved when they were younger and bring them back in a meaningful, significant way that really kind of like heightens what you already loved about them. So that's just fantastic for me. But yeah, God, what a beautiful, bizarre creature this is. I love the texture detail on the beak here, on the head. Look at those movements, they're so bird-like, and the animation work and the feathers. And Prehistoric Kingdom team, I just want you to know you've like outdone yourself on some of these creatures, especially this one. That is a stunner. Yeah, just also I like that they did the Planet Zoo thing. I say Planet Zoo thing. Oh wow. Thank you, that was impressive. I say Planet Zoo thing. It might be just a general animal game thing where their names are based on the location they're from. So these are Mongolian. Are they Mongolian names? They might be, because these guys are from kind of that area. Or they would be kind of Central Asian names in general. So this is Galtma. And what's the other one? Where's the other one? Hello? There you are. Yeah, Genghis, of course, yeah. I like that this one has the purple, of course, being the male, and slightly brighter eyes with the nose being somewhat blue. Stunner. Absolute stunner of an animal. I am... And those roars. Fantastic. The people are actually traversing this area really well. I was really worried they wouldn't be doing this super well, but they're using the ramps pretty good. Of course, I try to make all my zoos somewhat accessible, so we have ramps here leading upwards, which I think work out pretty well. Yeah, the guests aren't doing anything too bad. I had some glitches when I first started the park, but so far everyone's kind of doing what they're meant to do. So, nice. But yeah, that is pretty much it for today's episode. As you can see, let's see what happens when they go under the bridge. Okay, a little bit of clipping, but they don't clip to the up, they clip to the top a little bit. But hey, you made it through, you didn't get stuck, so that's alright. That's the main thing. But yeah, really loving this. I kind of wish I gave them some deeper water to see them kind of wade a little bit more, but hey ho, I think it works out just fine. Next episode, I think, I'm not quite ready to tackle this area yet. This area, excuse me, this area is going to be a big multi-species habitat with sauropods, so it's going to be a big habitat, and because sauropods are as big as they are, I'm going to make this a big, like properly huge naturalistic habitat where it stretches out for a while. I might even make like a full kind of park tour thing that might drive through like a safari ride, but we'll see about that, because we don't actually have like an actual safari ride, so it'll just have to be completely implied, and I don't know if I believe in my skills enough that I can make a vehicle out of the parts that we have. But yeah, that was it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. I am loving Prehistoric Kingdom. I hope you all enjoying the content as well. I hope you, if you got your hands on the game, I hope you're enjoying it too. Let me know your thoughts on the game. Let me know your thoughts on the video, of course. Leave more suggestions down below. I actually might do a Stegosaurus habitat next, because I wanted to do that this episode, but then I was like, I cannot resist the Dinochirus. So yeah, we'll do that. Again, big thanks to the PK team themselves for creating such an incredible game, and also for giving me the creator kit so that I could put in some background music in this episode and for the future ones. The music, by the way, just want to say again, I don't know if I mentioned this, the musical score in Prehistoric Kingdom is really good, so I could just listen to it for ages. But yeah, that is it for today's episode. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for the support, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye!